Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Is Chance really dead and gone? According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, even in daytime dramas with the most final deaths, characters always come back from the dead. Having said that, the recent death of Chance Chancellor really offended fans. Is he truly gone? Why was Chance Chancellor killed off by the show? According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, when Kane Ashby's assistant, Carter, shot Chance during a dramatic face-off, fans were shocked. Everyone found out that Carter had stabbed Damian Kane, and Chance lost his life trying to stop him from hurting Lily Winters. Fans of Y&R were aware that Floyd had been demoted to a recurring role and that he now plays the Chad Diamera recast on Days of Our Lives. Despite the fact that the show is shooting so far ahead of schedule, Days fans are aware that they won't see Floyd in the role until spring 2026. With that said, did the show have to kill Chance in such a final way? Y&R fan outrage. The death of Chance on the soap made a lot of fans angry. After all, they could have found a recast, right? Especially considering that Chance was an iconic character. Still, as he was shot in cold blood, is there any chance that Chance could return, alive? Characters that were thought to be long gone have been brought back by soap writers over the years. After all, yes, Chance was shot, but as he's been a spy in the past, maybe the authorities scooped him up, claimed he was dead, only to place him on a secret mission they want him for? However, given that he is Chancellor, it's possible that he was taken from Kane's estate with the intention of assisting him in recovering from his injuries, only to be used as a ransom to secure a substantial reward. There is no end to the possibilities. The question on everyone's mind in Genoa City and across the Young and the Restless fanbase is clear. Is Chance Chancellor really dead and gone? Because if there's one thing soap operas have taught fans over the decades, it's that death isn't always the end, especially in the world of scheming billionaires, shadowy espionage missions, and last-minute salvation by mysterious strangers. Chance's apparent death at the hands of Carter Kane Ashby's cunning, vicious assistant rocked not only the fictional town but also legions of devoted viewers who watched in disbelief as the once-respected agent and beloved Chancellor heir was gunned down in what looked like a final and fatal act of heroism. But was it truly final? Or was this just the beginning of another layered and electrifying story arc waiting to unfold? According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, the showrunners pulled no punches in the way Chance's death played out. The bullet Carter fired was meant for Lily Winters, a woman Chance had long protected, respected, and shared a complicated emotional history with. In a split-second decision, he lunged between her and the gun, taking the full brunt of the shot as chaos erupted around them. Screams echoed, sirens wailed, and blood soaked the floor of the Abbott estate. The visuals were shocking. The dialogue sparse. Just a final breath from Chance as Lily clutched him, weeping and begging him not to go. And yet, in that very moment while viewers grieved, and Kane barked orders, and medics rushed in, something didn't feel right. The editing was just a little too abrupt. The body, once whisked away, was never shown again. The funeral closed casket. The autopsy sealed. Why? Behind the scenes, fans quickly connected the dots. Floyd, who had portrayed Chance with intensity and warmth since 2021, had reportedly been dropped from contract status and was already tied to Days of Our Lives, stepping into the fan-favorite role of Chad Diamera in a high-profile recast. But even then, soap fans wise to decades of backstage maneuvers were stunned that Y&R opted to kill Chance on screen, and so dramatically. The backlash was swift. Fan forums exploded with outrage. Why not recast? They demanded. Why not send him off on another mission? A fake death? Anything but this. For a character who had survived war zones, espionage, abandonment, and betrayal, not to mention previously faking his own death years ago, this kind of send-off felt rushed and oddly final. But perhaps that's exactly the point. In the grand tradition of daytime television, final is never truly final. Characters presumed dead have re-emerged years later with new faces, new memories, even new allegiances. So what if the same fate awaits Chance Chancellor? After all, he's no stranger to secret government missions. His background with intelligence agencies means he's played dead before, disappearing into the shadows for the greater good. What if, in the chaos after the shooting, a silent call was made to a classified contact? What if the authorities took possession of the wounded Chance, spiriting him away under the guise of death to save his life and recruit him for something even more dangerous? After all, if the bullet hadn't struck his heart, but only nicked a major artery, there's every possibility that Chance was stabilized and immediately handed over to a higher power, the same shadowy agencies that once erased his identity and sent him overseas for black ops operations. Then again, some speculate that Chance's so-called death was actually an inside job, not to kill him, but to protect him. Lily Winters, torn apart by guilt and regret, has remained strangely reserved since the incident. Could it be because she knows something no one else does? Could she have helped orchestrate his disappearance to protect him from the threats circling around Kane and Carter's criminal empire? If Damian Kane's stabbing by Carter was just the tip of the iceberg, perhaps Chance uncovered something far darker, a massive conspiracy involving Chancellor Industries, dirty money, and stolen international assets. With that kind of explosive intel, faking his death might have been the only way to survive long enough to expose the truth. And Lily, who has always struggled to navigate the moral complexities of those she loves, may have chosen to lie to everyone to ensure his safety. And what about Kane Ashby? His assistant turned assassin in broad daylight, then vanished. Though he claims no knowledge of Carter's motives, fans have been whispering about Kane's suspicious behavior. If Chance uncovered something damning, say, a decades-long financial manipulation or proof of Kane's involvement in Damian's downfall, wouldn't Kane have had every motive to see him gone? It's not a stretch to imagine Kane striking a deal. Carter kills Chance before he can go public with the truth, but makes it look like a failed rescue. Only the plan goes sideways when Chance survives the shot. Now, instead of being dead, Chance is missing. And Kane, thinking his problem is solved, is sitting on a ticking time bomb. The guilt, the paranoia it's building. His recent erratic behavior, his silent glances toward Lily, and his obvious discomfort at Chance's memorial could all point to one thing: Kane knows Chance isn't dead. And he's terrified of the day he walks back through the door. Meanwhile, Nina Webster, Chance's mother, isn't convinced. She's buried him once before, only to have him walk through the door years later with stories of undercover missions and changed identities. This time, she's being quiet. Too quiet. In her last conversation with Abby, she hinted at doubts how nothing about the funeral felt real. How the officials refused to give her access to the final coroner's report. How no one would explain why the security footage from the estate went mysteriously missing the night of the shooting. Nina has started making calls. She's contacting old friends in DC, former agency contacts, and digging into security clearances she once had access to when she was working with Ronan. If there's a cover-up, she's going to be the one to rip it wide open. Then there's Abby Newman, the woman who has loved Chance through war, trauma, betrayal, and fatherhood. At first, she seemed devastated, crushed. But in the days following the funeral, her grief transformed into something else: determination. She found a thumb drive hidden in Chance's belongings, encrypted and buried inside Dominic's baby monitor. What she discovered inside shocked her: files, codes, hidden surveillance records, proof that Chance had been tracking something massive. Something about Carter's ties to global arms deals and a rogue faction using Genoa City as a laundering hub. It was all there, hidden under Chance's alias, Shadow Fox. Abby now believes Chance uncovered a plot so dangerous that the only way out was to die. And if she's right, then her husband is alive but in more danger than ever. Of course, none of this has been confirmed. On screen, Chance is dead. Off screen, Connor Floyd has exited. But with the timing of his Days of Our Lives debut not set until mid-2026, the question remains: did Y&R leave the door open intentionally? Could Chance reappear just in time for a summer or fall sweep storyline next year, returning to Genoa City with a beard, a bullet scar, and a file of evidence that blows the town to pieces? Could he crash Kane and Lily's reconciliation dinner? Walk into Chancellor Winters with a flash drive and declare, "I've been gone, but I've been watching"? It's the kind of twist that fans live for, the kind that makes daytime drama unforgettable. Because in Genoa City, nothing is ever simple. Not love. Not loyalty. Not even death. And when it comes to a character as layered, heroic, and polarizing as Chance Chancellor, one thing is certain. Even in silence, his presence looms. Every whispered conversation, every sidelong glance, every uneasy alliance formed in the wake of his death is a potential clue, A breadcrumb on a trail that leads to a door not yet opened. So, is Chance Chancellor really dead and gone? Fans may not have the final answer yet, but in the world of the young and the restless, nothing is ever as it seems. The days following Chance Chancellor's memorial unfolded like a slow-motion train wreck for everyone close to him, but behind the veil of grief and tribute, the foundations of Genoa City had begun to tremble. Something was unraveling and no one could stop it. Whispers of conspiracy now traveled like wildfire through private circles. Devon, now suspicious of Kane's ever-changing version of the events leading to Chance's death, had quietly enlisted Tucker McCall to run a digital forensic sweep on the estate's security system from the night of the shooting. What they uncovered was chilling: a 2-minute blackout in the footage, deliberately erased data packets, and a ghost signature from a hacking program that hadn't been seen since the Newman cyber-attacks years earlier. Someone had gone to great lengths to wipe the truth. Someone powerful. And someone very, very afraid of what Chance might have known. While Abby tried to hold herself together for Dominic's sake, her instincts screamed louder by the hour. The encrypted files Chance had hidden were slowly being decoded with the help of a third-party expert in Berlin, an old contact from Chance's CIA days, known only as Hawk. Each decrypted message hinted at a broader criminal network, one that not only linked Carter to the international black market but had suspicious ties to high-ranking officials within the U.S. Justice Department. Abby now realized Chance hadn't just been trying to protect Lily, he was trying to expose something massive, something that might have destroyed people in both Chancellor Winters and Newman Enterprises. And his death, it wasn't just a casualty. It was a silencing. In the Chancellor Mansion, Nina pored over old case files and clippings, revisiting every period of Chance's life from his mysterious years undercover to the mission that previously led to him faking his death in Iraq. There were patterns, codes, hidden markers that meant nothing to anyone else, but to Nina, his mother, they read like a cry for help. The odd timing of his messages. The strange phrase "Blue Fire Protocol" scribbled in his last journal entry. The numbers 814 written backward. Nina now recognized it as an alias to a restricted floor in a federal records facility in D.C. When she called Christine with the theory, there was silence on the other end, then a quiet admission. "I've seen that code once, in a case file labeled National Threat." Nina's heart thudded. Christine warned her to stop digging, but Nina refused. "I've buried my son before and welcomed him home again. I'll be damned if I don't look for him now." Meanwhile, Victor Newman had already launched his own operation. He wasn't just curious, he was furious. The moment he learned that Carter had once worked for a corporate intelligence firm that had tried to breach Newman Enterprises' systems, Victor suspected Chance had gotten too close to secrets that weren't just Kane's. They were Victor's too. Financial records going back 3 decades were suddenly under review. Shell companies tied to old Newman mergers were now being questioned. Someone had manipulated Victor's name, and if Chance had figured that out, he was a danger. Alive or dead, Chance had left behind something someone wanted buried. Victor didn't yet know whether to protect Chance's legacy or bury it before the skeletons came dancing out. So, he brought in Michael Baldwin, assigning him to do what Victor does best: clean up before the storm hits the press. But storms don't wait for permission. In a quiet corner of society, Phyllis Summers overheard a curious exchange between Tucker and Audra, something about a Chancellor file re-emerging. She pressed Audra for details later with subtle manipulation, hinting that if someone had dirt on Victor or Kane, she'd love an exclusive. But Audra, too savvy to fall into Phyllis's traps, smiled and pivoted. "Some ghosts should stay buried," she said, but her eyes betrayed her. Phyllis knew the look of someone keeping a bombshell under wraps. And she also knew when to press and when to plant a trap of her own. That night, she sent a copy of Carter's employment record to Kevin Fisher, noting timestamps around Damian Kane's stabbing and Chance's shooting. The dates didn't line up. There was a gap. A window where Carter was completely off the grid. Phyllis was onto something, and for once, she wasn't going to play by the rules. Across town, Lily Winters continued to unravel emotionally, a guilt-stricken mess, just barely keeping herself together at Chancellor Winters. She couldn't stop seeing Chance's face, bloody, broken, cradled in her arms. She had nightmares where he opened his eyes, mouthed something she couldn't hear, and then vanished into darkness. In the dream, she chased him down a corridor with mirrors, but every reflection was Kane's, whispering, "You let him die." But the truth gnawed at her because she wasn't entirely sure he had. The whisper in his final breath was haunting her. Don't let it end. Was he warning her? Was he asking her to finish something? One night, unable to sleep, she returned to the scene of the shooting, staring at the empty hallway where the bloodstain had long since been scrubbed away. She pressed her hand to the cold wall, and felt something shift a panel, a hidden safe. Inside was a flash drive labeled simply Rook. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew who might: Billy Abbott. Reluctantly, Lily brought the flash drive to Billy, who was now suspicious of everything: Kane's rise in power, Victor's sudden secrecy, and the eerie calm at Newman Media. When they unlocked the drive, what they found was nothing short of explosive. Video surveillance from a secure camera Chance had installed showing Carter meeting with a man who looked eerily like Alan Laurent, the international finance broker recently rumored to be connected to various shell companies. In the footage, Alan handed Carter a case and said the words, "Make it clean. We can't have Chancellor bringing this to light." It was confirmation. Chance hadn't died in a random act of violence. He had been targeted. The people behind it had influence, reach, and connections to Newman, Chancellor, and possibly even government agencies. And now, they were all at risk. But what no one knew, what not even Abby or Devon or Nina suspected, was that Chance was very much alive. Hidden in the Swiss Alps, in a recovery bunker operated by a clandestine NATO subcell, Chancellor lay under heavy guard. He had survived, but just barely. After the shooting, paramedics had been intercepted by a classified task force with orders to extract him under directive code Phoenix Shadow. The program was only used in extreme cases, agents too valuable to lose but too exposed to remain. Chance had uncovered not only financial fraud and assassination orders tied to Kane's estate, but a massive international web that linked criminal enterprises across 3 continents. He had been marked for death by the very system he served. So they made him disappear. His death had been staged with the help of one rogue insider. He'd been airlifted out while the press reported him DOA. Now, he was healing. And waiting. Each day in the facility, he reviewed case files. Watched Genoa City from afar. Saw Dominic's face in encrypted photos. Read Abby's statements to the press. Watched his own funeral with quiet fury. And now, it was time. The mission was changing. His silence had bought him survival, but not justice. And certainly not peace. He requested extraction. When they refused, he broke protocol. He knew he would be hunted, but he didn't care. They had tried to erase him. But you can't kill what's already been reborn. Chancellor was coming back. In Genoa City, the ground was shifting. Rumors were swirling of a whistleblower. Journalists began receiving anonymous emails with encrypted files marked Kane and Rawn twin. Victor received a warning note on his desk: "He's not dead. And he remembers everything." Devon's private server was breached. Lily received a voice message from a burner phone: "Follow the Rook." Tucker vanished on an unannounced business trip to Brussels. And Carter, missing since the day of the shooting, was spotted in Monaco, then vanished again. The chessboard had reset, but no one knew who was playing white, and who was about to be checkmated. Then came the day no one saw coming. At Chancellor Winter's Investor Gala, the lights dimmed. Lily stood at the podium. Abby in the crowd. Victor, Nate, Devon, and even Kane looking uneasy. Suddenly, the screens behind her flickered. Static. Then a grainy video emerged, shaky but unmistakable. A man stepped into frame. Blood still crusted on his collar. A bullet scar visible through a torn shirt. His eyes fierce. His voice low. "I trusted you all. One of you tried to end me. Now, I'm back for answers." The audience gasped. Abby dropped her champagne glass. Kane's face went pale. Lily clutched the podium, unable to breathe. And then, before the video cut to black, one final line: "This isn't over. It's just beginning." Chancellor was alive.